Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to North Shore Live Cooper's Corner. This is June the 19th. I hope everyone had a wonderful Father's Day. I forgot to mention that we already had passed two dates that we should have had the flag up. We put ours up, of course. We have veterans in our family, but you also should put the flag up. That was on the Flag Day, which was June the 14th. And I think there was another date that the flag should have been placed out in front of your home or where you live or where you work. And certainly for the 4th of July, let's see the flags flying. This is our country. These are our colors. This is what we're supposed to adhere to, which is going to bring me to this evening's program. And we have laws that we live by and a constitution to protect the public, the people, we the people. This evening we have, oh, by the way, the weather is lovely right now, but it's supposed to be quite warm on Friday. And if you're suffering from allergies, unfortunately, as I am, please try to stay calm and cool. A wet wash rag cool over your eyes does wonders, let me tell you. I can tell you from experience, not just reading in a book. So keep yourself cool, keep yourself hydrated. And for the senior citizens that go for walking, either walk in the malls, which are lovely to walk in because you could visit the stores and window shop or purchase whatever you like, or go into the theater in Northbrook Court, sit down and have a wonderful couple hours of watching fantasy on the screen. Or you can go to the library and read about treasures and journeys and places that you've not traveled to. But in the interim, please hydrate yourself. We don't want to see any ambulances going down 41 to the hospital because someone did not hydrate themselves. And the little children as well. They play a lot, they sweat a lot, they need to be hydrated. Tea is good, but best of all is water, water, water. Water with ice cubes. That's the best thing to have. And take your time drinking so you don't get your brain freeze. That's really hard. All right, this evening's program, I need to tell you, we have two illustrious attorneys on the air, JoAnne Denison and Ken Ditkowsky. And they are here this evening, and we've been talking on numerous occasions about the ARDC here in Illinois and why they do what they do and they don't investigate or don't, this is for attorneys who sit on this board who also look on to attorneys that perhaps may have created or had some comment made about their procedure of being an attorney. And so this evening we're going to be talking about the ARDC. We're going to be talking about a case that is presently in the court system, in probate court system. And we're going to be talking about the First Amendment rights. And that's why I said the American flag. This is what thousands and thousands of GIs went overseas to protect and defend in other countries, because the Americans have laws and freedoms and liberty. And you need to know this does not come cheap. The loss of life cannot be replaced. You can replace an article that is materialistic, but a human life you cannot replace. So be proud of our flag, wave it with honor and integrity, and give it the respect it's entitled to. And these two attorneys that are on the program this evening, they also are entitled to honor and respect, because they are upholding the laws to protect the elderly and those that are wrongfully brought into probate court and put upon the GALs and the judges and any other agency that comes in under the auspices of in their best interest. We've lived through that faux pas, and we lived through in the best interest of a child. We lived through that as well. Here to tell you, life experiences are better than any book you could possibly read. So, starting off, I'd like to introduce JoAnne Denison, who I have a letter here that I'm going to be reading, and attorney at law, and Ken Ditkowsky, who also is attorney at law and has brought his lovely wife Judy to the program this evening. Very dedicated, these two attorneys, very, very dedicated. So, without any further ado, what I'm going to now attempt to do, because of this allergy I have, is read a letter also from an attorney at law who is a GAL. It's a guardian ad litem in the probate court, the 18th floor of the Daly Center in Chicago. And this is really, it's not very long. This letter was sent to the ARDC and to one Ms. Leah Black, who is the attorney in the ARDC. And this is regarding JoAnne Denison, our attorney here on the dais. And this was a letter sent by Cynthia Ferenga, whom I invited on many occasions to the program. And she did say she was going to come, but really never gave me a date or a time or whatever. It's been more than a year that I've invited her to the program, and continually do invite her. I want you to know I really don't like to take no for an answer. But let me read this letter, then we're going to talk. This goes to Miss Leah Black from the ARDC, and regarding JoAnne Denison. Dear Ms. Black, I'm writing to refer JoAnne Denison to the ARDC pursuant to the duty imposed by the Himmel case. My experience with Ms. Denison began in the estate of Mary Sykes, a disabled person. I am one of two guardians ad litem for Mary Sykes in this matter. Adam Stern is the other GAL. Ms. Denison was only briefly involved in the Sykes estate, as she was disqualified for having a conflict of interest. She has now joined forces with Kenneth Ditkowsky, whose conduct is under review by ARDC, to renew attacks on various lawyers and judges involved in the Sykes estate. I have enclosed pages printed from a website called probatesharks.com, which has been ardently following the case and has printed many of Ditkowsky's inflammatory and untrue writings. The specific article I'm referring to is dated November 20th, 2011, and is titled Call for State Federal Investigation by Kenneth Ditkowsky, JoAnne Denison, Illinois Attorneys. The authors suggest that readers call, visit, and write state and federal investigators, including the FBI, to investigate alleged misconduct by Carolyn Torp, Mary's guardian and daughter, and by me and Adam Stern in our role as Marion's guardian ad litem. The article speaks for itself in terms of repeating allegations of criminal culpability, in particular referred to paragraph 5, referencing heart of the criminal conduct. Paragraph 6 refers to gross improprieties of Adam Stern, who is an attorney as well, and me. Me is Cynthia Ferenga. The entirety of the article is simply untrue, including the assertion on paragraph 3 that Adam Stern and I ignored red flags relating to Mary Sykes' abuse and neglect. Please let me know if I can be of assistance in this matter. Yours, truly, very truly yours, Cynthia Ferenga, guardian ad litem, estate of Mary Sykes. And there's an enclosure, probatesharks.com. That's the website, probatesharks.com. November the 20th, 2011. Article by Ditkowsky and Denison. Now we have the article, and actually if you go to probatesharks.com, on that posted a November 20th, 2011. It's still on there. I mean, you have to scroll down to the comments and the names of the programs, and this does say probatesharks.com, and it does say call for state federal investigations by Ken Ditkowsky, JoAnne Denison, Illinois. Attorneys, call for state and federal investigations. Posted November the 20th, 2011. Now, in the archives, you'll be able to find it. Go back down to 2011. Now, there's the whole comment on the listing, and there is an editor's note regarding this. And the editor's note states, the exploitation and kidnapping of Mary Sykes by the probate court of Cook County should sound a warning knell to all Americans. Any person, aged, disabled, or dying, can potentially fall under the grasp of this greedy, power-hungry court. Most of the wealth of America ultimately passes through these almost completely unregulated courts. Billions of dollars and the humanity of our citizens are being denuded by these packs of probate court scoundrels. Well, that's really very violent words here. And it's signed Lucius Verinas, schoolmaster, probatesharks.com. Please do go to that website and read that information, because this will give you an eye-opening of really what is happening on that 18th floor in the probate court of Cook County in the Daly Center. And Cynthia Ferenga, an attorney who wrote this letter, really only has one point of view. That's hers, because she is one of two GALs for the Mary Sykes case. Why they needed two when everybody else has one, I don't know. But we're going to get into that this evening, and I'm so pleased that Ken Ditkowsky and JoAnne Denison have agreed to be on the program and allow me to read this letter. And what can we say about this, Ken?
Well, let's start off with what we're talking about. The First Amendment.
First Amendment rights.
First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. So in other words, it's quite clear that Ms. Ferenga doesn't have any idea what the Constitution says, because JoAnne and I have the right to petition Congress, petition our government, petition law enforcement, to look into the Sykes case, look into the fact that Mary Sykes was neglected. She was taken in the hospital having lost 10% of her body weight. If that isn't neglect, I don't know what is. Mary Sykes has been kept from her family, her 2 siblings. That is, of course, something that Ms. Ferenga doesn't mention in there.
No.
This letter is what we would call a smoking gun, because this letter gives an idea of what's happening in the Sykes case, and happening right now. The 2 guardian ad litems, who would normally not even be in this case at this point in time, are still there. The question has to be investigated of why they're there. Why should they be there when there's already a plenary guardian appointed who has an attorney? Why should they be eating up the estate? But let's go a step further. If you look at the date of that letter,
Yes.
you notice this is the letter before any proceeding started against me
Yep.
or JoAnne.
Yep.
So in other words, it appears from this letter that this letter promulgated ARDC investigations. In other words, the ARDC is investigating us for complaining that there might be misconduct, and we are unethical in petitioning our government by using the First Amendment for protection. This is totally, absolutely absurd. So as you start looking through this thing, you find a number of serious problems that are here, and they should be addressed. Ms. Ferenga has every right to write the ARDC, and we would defend to the death her right to do so. But she has no right, and the ARDC and nobody else has a right to impede my right to free speech, or your right, or JoAnne's right. And that's been upheld time and time again. If you need a list of cases, I can give you a list of cases that'll stretch a mile long. Very recently, just taking current cases, you got United States versus Alvarez, a 2012 case. That was a case where a man claimed to have Medal of Honor, and he didn't have it.
No.
So a lie is protected. And the court has said, we're not going to get into the issue of whether or not it's truth or a lie. The right to free speech is there. Only under very, very limited circumstances may you stop an individual from speaking content-related speech, which is political speech. It happens all the time. I can call Mayor Emanuel all kinds of things. That's my right to do. It's content, it's political speech. I can accuse them of all kinds of things. That's my right to do. You have Ashcroft versus Civil Liberties Union. You have, that's a 202 case. Brown versus Merchants Association, that's a current case. That's an interesting case because that's a case where violent videos were under protection of the First Amendment. So as you run through these cases, and there are a bunch of other cases.
So that stands as precedent then.
Oh yeah.
So anybody else coming up with it?
Yeah.
Very binding.
The leading case, though, the one that really knocks everybody for a loop, is Citizens United versus Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. This is the case that everyone looks at and says, "My God, you've got corporate free speech." Well, Citizens United goes much further than that. It basically lays out the fact that where you have speech, it's only in the slightest limited circumstances we're going to allow any regulation. We're not going to allow the professional associations to say that it's unethical to speak out. We're not going to allow people who have unpopular ideas. I think is the Snyder case the one that says where the people went to the funeral and they were picketing funerals of heroes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we've said that's allowable. Everything except for the very limited situation like yelling fire in a crowded theater is acceptable free speech. We've gone to the Black and Douglas approach to the Bill of Rights. They're absolute, they cover everybody, and they cover everything. And anybody who impedes this has a real problem because they don't understand the Constitution, they don't understand the Bill of Rights, and they don't understand particularly the First Amendment. Now, we have a situation in here which is it's almost humorous. And that's the fact that if I'm a preteen, someone 11 or 12 years old, and I want to go to high school, I have to pass a Constitution test.
In 8th grade.
That's
sixth
right.
grade when I went. Sixth grade. We had sixth grade.
You have to pass it.
And in other words, you don't have to pass a Constitution test to be a lawyer?
Well,
How is that possible? That lawyers out there, lawyers being paid by the state, the ARDC attorneys are paid by the state of Illinois, paid by you, don't understand the basic concepts of the First Amendment, don't understand the Constitution.
Well, and they don't read the cases. They really don't read the cases. And in fact, in my case and Ken's case, there's a continuing pattern. The only thing they know how to do is file a motion to strike. That's all I've ever seen in the cases.
You know, I think the public has a right to know who these people are that are sitting in judgment when they themselves have not a clue as to what the true meaning of the law is. It's not for them to decipher.
Anybody who judges another person has to be like Caesar's wife. You can't judge other people if you yourself have dirty laundry.
That's right.
And what that letter says is there's dirty laundry. Now, we have a situation that occurred not too long ago where 15 or 17 judges traded their robes for orange jumpsuits.
Oh.
How did that happen? It happened because democracy is not a spectator sport, because people didn't look into it. That's the reason we're screaming for an investigation of this situation. This Mary Sykes situation is not an isolated situation.
It's not unusual in and of itself. However, let me just tell you how closely it matches our case.
Oh, in your mother's situation, they took our teeth for gold fillings.
They pulled her teeth. Yeah.
I haven't heard of anything like that since the National Socialists were running death camps in Germany.
Yeah. But with that, Mary Sykes has 2 GALs.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely absurd. But she has 2 GALs because the plenary guardian went into a safety deposit box and took out gold coins. By the way, she's never denied that. The only one who's even made an attempt to deny it is Cynthia Faranga. Cynthia Faranga, who wasn't there.
Yeah,
Adam Stern, who wasn't there.
But in Adam Stern's testimony, he said over and over and over, he served subpoenas, he investigated this, and nothing came up. But there's nothing in the record on appeal. It's published on my website. Anybody can take a look at it. There are no subpoenas served by any of the guardians ad litem or served by Peter Schmiedel, who is the attorney for, and Harvey Waller. They were the attorneys. Nobody's investigated it. And the law is...
How would he even investigate it? How would he know what to do to investigate it? First of all, the only way you'd know is if you get in the safety deposit box. You can subpoena the bank. The bank doesn't monitor your safety deposit box.
Yeah. That's correct.
Who are you going to subpoena? If I put an atomic bomb in my safety deposit box, until it blows up, no one's going to know it.
No, but they did not get the records. And one of the things the records would have shown is that Gloria and Mary's name was on that deposit box. And in order for the plenary guardian to touch it, because it's a joint account, is they have to give notice to the other account holder. They have to go through a complete legal procedure to do that. None of that is in the record on appeal.
Of course. And that's the reason they don't want an investigation, because they'll find they went into a safety deposit box. They had no authority to do so.
That's correct.
And if there's an investigation, the first thing they're going to look into is jurisdiction. And when they look into jurisdiction, one of the first places to find out if there's been service is go to the sheriff. Well, no one did that until I did. Or you went, actually.
I actually went years ago.
You actually
I was
went
at the
there.
sheriff. I had pulled the file, Mary Sykes' file. I found out 70% of it was missing.
And by the way,
2 years ago.
we're not talking about Sheriff Dart in Cook County. We're talking about where she's at.
Well, it should be DuPage County.
In DuPage County.
I wrote the sheriff of DuPage County, and he told me by letter that she doesn't even in their system, so I made no attempt to serve. However, the sheriff of Cook County, by Peter Kramer as general counsel, wrote me a letter on June 12, 2013, in response to my letter of June 6th, and it points out that there is no service of summons on Mary. Now, it's not just service of summons that's necessary, it's more than that. You have to have a summons, you have to have a petition, and you have to have a warning. And it has to tell people of all their rights, including their rights to an attorney, a right to a jury trial, all kinds of things are in there, and they're listed. And it has to be in bold letters. There isn't any such thing.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Mr. Schmiedel sent us a document that he was very excited about because somebody paid $50 for the document. But he didn't bother to point out is the fact that if I want to sue you and I want to serve you, I have to pay first, and then I have to bring it to the sheriff for summons.
Yeah.
Well, they did first step, but they didn't do the second step. And it shows here that Mary Sykes, the first time they tried to serve her, on 8/10/2009, she was not found, no contact. And we go down, we find the address that she was being served at. She was being served at 6014 North Avondale. 6014 North Avondale is in Chicago, but Mary Sykes was living
in Naperville.
Oh, so if I send out summons for you at 6014 Avondale, I doubt very much the sheriff's been able to serve you.
You're not going to find me there.
Why would that occur? Why would Carolyn, the person who wanted to be the plenary guardian, send out summons to a place that she knew her mother wasn't there?
Yeah.
And no one investigates. No one finds that strange.
Well, like I say, how the case mimics our case is the fact that you have two GALs in Mary Sykes who are collecting payments. And in our case, my mother has passed away 2 years, and David Martin is the GAL, and he's still collecting money from the estate. 2 years after my mother has passed away, what is he doing in court? They should have closed this. He should have been removed, but Judge Kawamoto has kept him on and paid him out of the estate. What is he doing?
There must be some proceeds from your mother's teeth.
Well, he's communing with her spirits, her ghostly spirits. He never met her. He never saw her. He doesn't know anything about her. Yet he's collecting money 2 years after her passing.
You want to hear some more funny stuff?
Well, I like to laugh.
I'm not making this stuff.
No, this
I'm
is
not
real.
making this stuff up.
All
Anybody
of this
wants
is
to look
real.
at it can look at it.
This is all real.
Now, the fact is that Mary is living in Naperville.
Yep.
Okay. On 8/26/09, they had a special process server appointed. She's living with her daughter. She's living with her daughter in her daughter's house. They have a special process servers.
Why was that?
What do they need that for?
I don't know. Is there finance
But
attached to that?
in any case, the sheriff's records indicate quite clearly that there was no service on Mary.
Do these process servers have to leave their name? Do you know who these people are?
Oh yeah, we know.
They have to.
They're all in here. They're all in here. The record is available. I think I said
it's on my blog,
and it's on her. It's on her blog. Anybody wants to look at it can do it. We're doing everything open. We don't have to hide anything because we couldn't make this stuff up.
No.
As a matter of fact, if you sat down and you figured out a plot for a novel, and you took and wrote all this stuff that went on the Sykes case and turned it into the publisher would turn around and say to you, "You got to be kidding."
No one would believe
You
that.
can't
believe
believe that. You can't believe that the letter I got from Peter Schmidl was actually sent by an attorney.
He is the attorney.
He is the attorney.
That's
he
right.
Is the attorney. No one believed the letter, and no one believed the fact that he'd try and justify it, or Cynthia Faranga would try and justify it. She'd say, "There's a special process server served." I'd be embarrassed by this.
What constitutes a special process server? What is, because she would be in jail?
No.
Someone's on the run?
The special process server, when someone's particularly difficult.
Yes, to find.
And the sheriff's made several attempts.
Yes.
And they can't find it, hidden within the state. You have special process servers, it could be a private detective or someone who would go out and serve.
They would hunt them down and find them. The reason why they needed a special process server is because Mary was in Naperville, the house was in Cook County, the sheriff can't go out there. But you can see the bumbling. If they knew, why didn't Harvey Waller know that Mary was in Naperville with Carolyn? Because every time he went to court, Judge Connors told Carolyn to take Mary home. At one point, Judge Connors was consistently insistent on Mary going home where she belonged.
On Avondale.
Correct, on Avondale.
Okay.
And then what happened was, I think Harvey Waller thought, well, Carolyn complied. She took Mary home. And in the meantime, what he didn't realize is Carolyn had announced to everybody, I believe it was by the summer's end, that Mary would never go home again. She would never see her home, despite what Judge Connors had told her. And a plenary guardian is never supposed to do that.
The sheriff in DuPage County is very good at serving summons.
Yeah, he could have done it.
So all they do is send it out there. They charge a fee, and the sheriff would have come out to the home, to Carolyn's home, and handed Mary a proper service in accordance with the statute.
The statute, okay.
And if they don't know if they didn't know the statute for some reason, Mr. Waller or Mr. Schmendel or Mr. Stern, it's very easy to find. There's an index in the book, and you can find it, and just about anybody who practices almost can tell you by heart what it is. 755 ILCS 5/11A-10.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And there's also another provision in here, which is
Probate Act.
Huh?
You're talking Probate Act.
Probate.
I was talking about the service.
Oh, the service.
Which is 52202.
But you see, Section 11A-10 is special because we're dealing with a disabled person.
Disabled.
Now, if I'm truly a disabled person, serving me is like serving this plant over here.
How would you be able to recognize or understand what's going on?
If I can't take care of my own affairs,
how can you understand?
That's right. So
okay.
it's a due process thing.
Yeah.
So the statute says that you have to serve the close relatives, and they say siblings and children and husband.
Yeah.
Okay. Mary's husband's dead. That's not a good place to serve him.
No. Cemetery can't get too much input there.
Gloria is fine to serve.
Okay. That's good.
And the two siblings, Mary's 80 and 90-year-old sisters,
Yolanda and Josephine,
are available to be served. Well, to make sure they weren't served, they weren't named in the petition, which should have been there. So they didn't serve them. We're not getting an explanation on why they weren't there. I'm speculating.
Yeah.
And I, of course, have a right to speculate. So they weren't served. Neither one of them was served. And if you look through the record, I think at this point you've got the entire record.
I have the entire record on appeal.
So anybody who wants the entire certified record by the clerk of circuit court is on her blog.
Yep.
So if anybody wants to do it, they don't have to subpoena it. So all they have to do is go on the internet, find it and check it.
Yeah.
Larry Chambers, my office.
Yeah, MaryGSykes.com. He's got it up there. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
He took the first 4 or 5 volumes and we spread them around because that's where the service would be.
Yep.
And you won't find a return of service. You won't find anything that indicates that either Mary, Gloria, Yolanda
or
Josephine were served.
Notice.
Why are they so negligent in providing the service that they have taken an oath to do for the protection of law and order?
You want an explanation?
Yes, I do.
There's an explanation. There were gold coins in that box. Gold coins. Gold is now $1,300 an ounce, and the gold coins are collectibles. Uncirculated gold coins can go from anywhere from the price of gold to 10 times the price of gold.
No, or more, because you can go look, like what I was told, and this is consistently by all the relatives. Yes, there were gold coins. There's about 200 of them. They were all put in a bag. Everybody describes the bag the same way. So I'm talking to 5, 6 people. Everybody knows this.
You want to know something interesting?
200 gold coins.
Stern never talked to any of them, never subpoenaed any of them. When it came to a hearing before the ARDC, they never called any of these people. They didn't call Gloria, who has an affidavit about the gold coins. They never called
Yolanda knows about them.
Who in open court described them. Didn't call them.
There's also Biddy relatives, I believe, that have seen the coins too.
Well, they could have subpoenaed the place they went, that they were purchased from. Some were purchased from. They're Archie's on Devon Avenue
Been around
in Chicago.
Since 1950.
They also bought them at auctions. There should be some records over there. None of this was looked at. That's all they said was they don't exist.
That's what they told. I was in court when Adam Stern told the judge at least 2 or 3 times, because Gloria would bring it up, she would be told to shut up, like usual, and then the judge...
That sounds...
Well, yes, we all start breaking out laughing when we hear that. Then the judge would turn to Adam Stern, ask him about the gold coins, and Adam Stern would say, oh, that's just made up. We looked into it, it's made up. He said it at least 2 or 3 times, and it's in the transcripts. I don't know if it's in the transcripts or not, but I remember sitting there and thinking, he is such a liar. This guy just lies. Like
we call it frugal with the truth, or a stranger.
No, I know.
You know,
a lie is a lie.
A lie is a lie, right? But that's
But he's been consistent.
Yes.
He's been consistent. He's their chief witness. And as far as this other stuff is concerned, in spite of the fact that jurisdiction hits him right on the nose, when you start a trial or you start a case, the first thing the judge does is look and see if he's got jurisdiction.
Well,
these judges apparently didn't.
Was this asked? Do you know? Was it ever asked? Do you have jurisdiction in this case?
Wait a minute. It is the only thing a judge has to do is look for jurisdiction. Once jurisdiction is established by service of the summons, the complaint, the affidavit of service, then the judge says, okay, bring me your motions. The judge doesn't really do anything. The attorneys, the parties are supposed to prepare the motions, the pleadings, they do the argument, and the judge says, okay, whatever.
Well, here they don't. Now, knowing, now this particular statute, now we're talking about, if I serve this plant, it doesn't do any good to anybody.
True.
So they also don't want to create a Procrustean situation where it becomes so difficult to serve that they can't protect anybody. And this act, this Title 11A, is really very, very good. And it's intended to do something. I don't know if I marked it here or not, but there's a section in here. There's a section in here that Section 3, which essentially says that what we want to do in this situation is not take away the liberty and property of a disabled person. What we want to do is supply them what they can't supply themselves. So in other words, if I can't get around and I need a guardian to take me around, that's what the guardian will do. If I'm suffering from some memory loss, the guardian will be there to help me with that. It's not taking away my liberty or my property. It's to help me so I can continue a meaningful existence.
Yeah, it's assisting.
This is the big thing.
Yeah.
What's happened here is that these people come in, they're found incompetent, and a plenary guardian takes over their life, their property, and everything, and now they're left, they can't do anything on their own.
Yeah.
And that's wrong, it's unconstitutional.
It's illegal, and they're in the court, and the court's allowing it to happen.
And the court is doing it.
Yes, the court is doing it.
But following the pattern of 11A, we want to help people. We don't want to make it so hard and set burdens that we can't do it. So the legislature said you can serve oral or written notice on the close relatives. So it's all you got to really do is serve notice by picking up the phone and calling Yolanda and Josephine and say, we're going to have a hearing 14 days from now in Judge so-and-so's courtroom, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Actually, that's not correct. It says written notice.
No, it says oral or written.
Where is it?
Huh?
I'm going to get. No, it says written.
No, it says oral or written.
I don't know. Well, you can go look at it later.
I know it says oral or written. It is oral or written. It's got to be 14 days prior. Now, what they're doing now, what the ARDC is doing is saying, when this issue is raised, they're saying, oh, they had knowledge.
How would they have knowledge?
They didn't call any witnesses.
But by what means would they have knowledge?
Well, they didn't bother to find out.
Oh.
It's a decree put out by people who say, don't bother me with the facts, I've made up my mind.
Or I made up the facts.
Well,
don't bother me with the facts.
They have fudged the facts, and they're not even embarrassed by it.
No, evidently.
We've sent this information to the ARDC. Now, they're not going to investigate Franga or Stern,
Schmiedel.
They're going to investigate me, because I'm asking for an investigation. I'm asking for an honest, complete, and comprehensive investigation. And the reason I'm asking for an honest investigation, I don't want an Adam Stern type investigation where he subpoenas all the wrong people and finds out nothing.
You know, if it wasn't as tragic as it is, it's a laugh. You could laugh at it, because this guy is like a dopey or somebody out of a comic strip that does, everything the wrong way.
Well, this is intended to be this way. It's intended to be a facade. Form trumps substance.
Yeah.
Now,
form trumps substance.
And it's all a facade because there's money here. Now, it used to be, I don't know if...
In all the cases,
I don't know if you're as old as I am, but I'm really getting up there.
I'd like to
but
get
when I was a youngster, I was told by an older attorney, when the person dies, you have to tell your client not to take him to the undertaker till he goes first to the bank and removes everything from the safety deposit box. And you know why that occurred?
No. Tell me.
Because it was traditional that when the state treasurer came in to check for inheritance tax, gold coins would disappear, cash would disappear, diamonds would disappear. And very few people in their safety deposit box
keep
things that aren't worthwhile.
Why would they?
And keep an inventory where you can carry it. If I've got a gold coin, there's no serial number.
How are you going to track it?
That's right. You can't. If I keep cash in there, yes, there's a serial number, but try cashing. Try tracing $10 bills, $100 bills, $1,000 bills. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Or bearer documents.
Bearer bonds, yeah.
Right. So under these circumstances, the advice was get the stuff out, let the treasurer come in and find nothing, pay the tax that's due, but you save yourself a good percentage of your assets by not having them in the box. Well, we've gone a step further. We no longer have the oppressive Illinois inheritance tax with the inspectors and the whole bit.
Yeah.
We have a new tax, and this tax appears to be the guardian tax. You saw in your mother's estate,
yeah.
You went from $1.5 million to zero?
Zero.
In how long?
3 years.
Okay.
Three
That's
years.
$500,000 a year?
Yep, 3 years. And, well, look what Judge Kawamoto did. She kept a GAL on. Now, let me clarify this. David Martin is the second GAL. The first GAL is Miriam Solo, who robbed the estate. And then you have David Martin, who is being paid by the estate without even visiting his client. He's the GAL. He didn't visit her. And not only did he not visit her, but after her passing, Judge Kawamoto is still paying him. Why is she paying him?
Maybe she'll come back.
Well, Mother will come back?
Well, you never know.
Well, no one has ever done that before. But
well,
I asked,
you got to be prepared. Aren't you a Boy Scout?
No, I'm a Girl Scout. I'm a Girl Scout leader, I want you to know.
Okay, be prepared.
I am always prepared.
Well.
But when the judge said, does anybody have any complaints about paying, the GAL? And I said, yes, I do. She said, overruled. So my voice, I am the only daughter of my mother and father. My other brother passed away. I have a very sickly brother in California. I was taking care of my mother, and I'm making the comment and statement, I do not want him to be paid, and she's overruling what I'm saying. And she doesn't even consider me anything in that court. I have no standing in the court. Who are these people that make these comments that I have no standing in the court because she is corrupt? She's corrupt, and they're all corrupt, making money on my mother, of which we never saw penny one or took penny one. I paid for everything from my mother's care. So the word corruption comes in. You said, Ken, honest. Now, the opposite of honest is corrupt. And all I can say is, I lived in that court almost 7 years. Judge Kawamoto, almost 7 years. I find the court to be corrupt. She never let me speak. I raised my hand. She said, what is it? And I said, I'd like to say something. She said, no, you may not. For 7 years, I never had a voice. We have an attorney, but he then relinquished his portion of time so that I could speak, and she didn't even listen.
The problem is that the attorneys have a responsibility under HIML to report corruption. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is.
They're corrupt. The judges are corrupt.
And what's happened is the ARDC, in our case in particular, has said, if you report corruption,
yes,
we're going to first deem it untrue, whatever you say, and we're going to prosecute you and take your license. And that's exactly what they're doing. It's not only happening here. It's happening in Florida. It's happening in, it's happening in Arizona. It's happening across the country. I'm calling this a cottage industry.
It is a cottage industry.
And the problem is it's so broad. If it were directed at a particular ethnic group, we'd call it ethnic cleansing. So I've coined the word, which hasn't caught on yet, elder cleansing. And this is what we're engaged in, is elder cleansing. A person gets to be 70 years old, They're brought into court. There are at least 3 doctors out there who find everybody incompetent.
They can be bought, is what we're saying.
Well, I'm not saying they're
can be
bought, but maybe they do believe everyone over 70 is.
Maybe somebody should check on that.
My daughter, when I was 30, said that all the people 30 ought to die and leave the leave the door open for the younger people. Well, maybe they have that philosophy. They've grown up with that philosophy, and they figured 30 is a little young for that. But at 70, you've lived a long life, and you've accomplished whatever you're going to accomplish. What are you going to accomplish from 70 to 90?
Or 100. Mother was 99 years old.
Yeah, well.
And not sickly, only arthritis.
Did you ever read the case of Buck versus Bell?
Didn't read that.
Buck versus Bell was Justice Holmes, and he pointed out that 3 generations of idiots is enough.
I would say.
And that was the legal basis for.
Are we including any of the judges?
For the Holocaust.
Oh, see.
Okay, so that's the legal basis for it. Society has to protect themselves from those people who are no longer contributors. So at 70, who's a contributor? What more are you going to produce after 70?
Grandma Moses was our most famous, prolific American
painter. Sure.
She started at age 80 when she couldn't do embroidery anymore, and she became one of the most wealthy.
She's an exception.
Oh, okay.
We'll make an exception.
Right.
We don't take when we get to elder cleansing. We have exceptions. As long as you can dig coal and you could contribute in some way to society.
On the farm, you're on the farm.
You're all right. But if you become a pain in the lower regions or where the sun doesn't shine, at that point, enough's enough. We'll call it one of the 3 doctors. You appear before a judge, and they'll determine that you're incompetent. The ball game's over. Now
look at we've got on the screen. Let's just make a notification of that. We've got these are websites to go to: StopGuardianAbuse.org, www.probatesharks.com. I urge you to go there to check that out from 2011. www.probate abuse manual. There's a manual, and a blogspot.com, and marysykes.wordpress.com, and there is JoAnne Denison blog, marysykes.com.
Those are actually the same thing. You don't have to type in all that.
All right, okay.
Just marygSykes.com will get you
there. All right.
But the people who should be reading them aren't reading them, so it doesn't make any difference.
Well,
we got to get the FBI to read it, the Internal Revenue Service. You know, there's a lot of money for government here. It's all they have to do is look into Carolyn Trope, and I'm sure that since she didn't inventory these gold coins, I'll bet she didn't put them in her taxes. There's a 50% fraud penalty. The interest rate is
well, no one is checking this out. And, you know, I bring to your attention 2 very honorable attorneys. And I say that with all clarity of heart and mind, because those that we have run into from the 18th floor are those judges that I've mentioned, specifically our judge, Lynn Kawamoto. They are most corrupt. How can you take money from a dead person who's in their grave because you're supposed to be providing them with service? What service? He never met her. David Martin, I ask you to come on the program, but I'm sorry that I cannot say, as I've said about these 2 attorneys that are sitting here, that...
I'd like to interrupt you. You know,
sure.
We had a Gloria reported to me that one of the doctors gave a medical report on her mother and admitted on cross-examination he had never examined her.
Yeah, well...
He didn't see her until 3.5 years later, and then when he saw her, he said that when he did meet her, it finally justified his prior report, and he knew it was accurate 3.5 years later.
Oh.
He's psychic.
Psychic.
Yeah, he's
do they give certification of being psychic, like Houdini?
I think so. I think so.
Really?
Well, they're all clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant? Oh,
Yeah,
that's good.
okay.
Hey, we should have had them when they're doing the mega dollars for the lottery. I mean, a little
Right.
money here, a little money there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they
Well,
don't have that.
they're doing
so-
much better than you'd be doing if you were taking the lottery. The lottery is what? Winning $1 on that thing is $1 in $13 million or something like that.
But you
Here,
can't.
it's a sure thing.
It's a sure thing.
You catch a 70-year-old
Yeah,
who's got a few dollars,
yeah.
and you become
Paid
the
up
guardian,
house. Paid up house.
House.
and you go in the bank account and just help yourself.
Well,
And if anybody complains, it's to their detriment. And apparently the state of Illinois, which is broke, isn't concerned about collecting the taxes. The federal government, which is talking about closing down, isn't concerned about taxes. It's free.
well, there's something very wrong when a judge is paying a GAL for services rendered to a client, and the client is deceased.
There
2 years worth.
There are other instances I've heard from probate victims where they talk about the fact that they look at the bills that are done and they never provided it, as they call
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
We're done here.
Okay, we're shooting the floor again. Sorry, floor up. There you go. Well, I want to just. It says 25 after. The hour has almost flown by quickly.
It is.
And we really need to pursue this fully, further. And any other paperwork or letters or whatever that the public needs to see and hear, I would be happy to read, and certainly keep them well aware of your case and our case, because they are pretty much, for services rendered.
There are
And,
hundreds just like this.
I
Hundreds like it going on a regular basis, and nobody cares.
yeah. Well,
Warm
I'm
up
making
the freight engines.
I'm making it notable that we care, and we care about everyone, and the veterans as well. The judges have the audacity to take away the veterans' pay from the veterans and give it to the GALs in the courts. That's ridiculous. We had someone come in we connected with, and the mother said that her son needs assistance, and he's a veteran, and he's entitled to his veterans pay. And the judge wanted to take that from them until they called probate sharks, and they're not allowed to do that. That is a veteran's.
That happened to John Wyman too.
Yeah.
The GALs were taking Social Security checks,
Yeah.
leaving the person nothing to live off of,
Yeah.
just taking the checks.
Well, I want to thank you all for allowing us in your home or place of business. That's it for this evening. It's 1 hour gone really rapidly. And thank our guests, JoAnne Denison, attorney at law, and Kenneth Ditkowsky, and also his lovely wife, Judy, who came down. And see you next week on North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. Have a pleasant evening and a very safe week. See you then. Thank you for watching as well.